Could Michael Jordan go left?
This is what I'm dealing with.
Welcome to True Basketball. Today, I'm going to analyze a video I just watched the other day. It was The Real Mind Crime. I always watch his videos, and he was also commenting on a show called The Mark Jackson Show, who invited Kenny the Jet Smith. For those who don't know Kenny the Jet Smith, he won 2 championships with Hakeem Olajuwon. The first question the host of this program asks is, obviously a LeBron fan, is, hey, can Jordan dribble left? This constant attack on the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, why don't they attack the 60s or 70s? I don't know why. I have this feeling, this funky feeling. It had a lot to do with what the media, the media tries to sell. But let's continue. So, did Jordan go left? Come on, man. Like, didn't you watch Jordan videos? One of the videos when he was, back to the basket, double teamed, and he dribbled right and then left, close to the end of the court, and he just skipped the defenders and dunked it on Patrick Ewing. That's one of the best videos I've ever watched ever of a basketball player. And it was Michael Jordan, and he was dribbling left. He could dribble left and right better than the majority of players today. But I don't know why there is this insistence of players today and fans to kind of hate on particularly on the 80s, 90s. The early 2000s is not a problem unless it's Kobe Bryant. Kenny answered it perfectly. The hand check. Someone who watched myself, who have watched different decades of basketball. And by the way, it's not because it has nothing to do with, the old guard versus the new guard and all that nonsense. No, it has everything to do with investigation. I have watched all games, and you would say, some people say, yeah, I know, especially LeBron fans. Oh, it's because the way you remember it is the way you remember it. No, I have watched these games lately just to check and watch them. By the way, it's not the highlights like people do today. They just watch the highlights. No, I recall having watched the '88 All-Star game recently, and it was the best All-Star game I've ever watched by far. By the way, I'm going to talk about that in a second. So the Jet Smith starts explaining. This is the thing. He starts explaining the difference between hand check and no hand check. For those who've never played basketball ever or just watch it, it's a major difference. Not to mention the physicality allowed in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. For example, like you're watching The Last Dance, like when the Detroit Pistons basically bash people to the ground. They bash you, they punch you, they bash you to the ground. If you're going to dunk it, you're going to get hit and end up on the ground. That was the common practice in the 80s. But let's just focus on the hand check.
If you're hand checking me, and this is my camera? Yep. This is my camera? Yeah. Okay. So he's hand checking me. I have to, because he's hand checking, I have to turn this way. Yeah. Without the hand check, I can face up here. Now I become a better passer because I have my peripheral is now at 75 degrees.
You see everything.
Here it's at 50. Yeah. I'm a better passer because I can see more. I'm a better ball handler because I can play with it. You can't touch me.
Yep.
I'm a better shooter because now my feet are squared up to the rim. Here, I have to turn and you can see me turn. Yeah. Now I can,
All right, you still moving.
That's what I'm talking about.
This is something Kevin Garnett said, and I'm going to analyze that video too. It is the skill set that you have to have is more difficult, and it requires more skill to skip a defender when the guy can put the hands in between and try to, put the hands in the middle, trying to take your dribbling away. So at the end, you have no option. And that's why post-up players were so overrated to the point, but it was so valuable back then because the hand check rule didn't allow you just face the basket, and start going charging forward like LeBron does all the time, for example. No, you couldn't do that in the 80s and 90s because the guy is gonna put his hands all the way. So you will have to push the guy basically to the basketball when he's holding you with his hands. Like they can really play physical with you and push you around. You cannot do that. You cannot do that today. Today you cannot use your hands. So that the guy with the ball can dribble in your face. And unless you really catch him with a steal, like you really catch him and take the ball out of his hand, which is very difficult, you cannot put your hands there because it's a foul. Actually, James Harden's career is based on those new rules. You could basically barely scratch James Harden and he's gonna be sent to the free throw line like 10 times, 20 times sometimes. Like Shaq used to be sent to the free throw line. That was James Harden.
There's a content of excellence. No matter how many times I pop, it always comes down to a 1-2 pull-up.
Yeah.
It comes down to one. Can you do a 1-2 pull-up? That's it. So I could have done all of that and just go 1-2 pull-up. The hand check rule is the single rule why I feel that players in that era would be better players. It's not because they worked harder or whatever. It's just the rule. Because when you play hand check.
Yeah,
right?
see, he just said it too. I'm glad he said it. It's not the players, it's the rules that changed.
Because they worked harder or whatever. It's just the rule. Because when you play hand check.
The rule change is what made the game increase in scoring. Scoring in the 80s, 90s was low, not because there were no talented players. It's because it was more difficult to score.
Right? I could get up. If you're hand checking me, and this is my camera? Yep. This is my camera? Yeah. Okay. So he's hand checking me. I have to, because he's hand checking, I have to turn this way.
Yeah.
Without the hand check, I can face up here. Now I become a better passer because I have, my peripheral is now at 75 degrees.
You see
Here
everything.
it's at 50.
Yeah.
I'm a better passer because I can see more. I'm a better ball handler because I can play with it. You can't touch me.
Yep.
I'm a better shooter because now my feet are squared up to the rim. Here, I have to turn and you can see me turn.
Yeah.
Now I can, hey. And I can,
All right. You still moving?
That's what I'm talking about.
That's the reason why Kobe Bryant's inefficiency comes from. Kobe Bryant had to skip a defender and a center and a power forward would be waiting for him in the paint. There was no 3-second rule at the time. So not unlike today where the center has to get out of the paint every now and then, every 3 seconds, the center could just stand there, wait for you. There was no spacing because there were not as many shooters of today. So you really need skill to get to the paint. So when you see a dunk from Tim Duncan or from Kobe, Garnett, Vince Carter, McGrady, very skillful players. Watch the highlights. Oh, but you're talking about the early 2000s. What about Dominique Wilkins, who was a very skillful player who could dribble and get to the basket? What about Clyde Drexler, who could skip defenders with his speed and dribbling and dunk it? High flyers. Not to mention Isaiah Thomas, who was still today would be regarded as one of the best dribblers in basketball. By the way, he was one of the best dribblers at a time that you could put your hands in between and keep pushing him out of the way. So it was so difficult to play back then, and they still managed to score 30 points. What evolved? So the players today keep talking about evolution. It's a lie, guys. The Adam Silver one, he said it himself, and I'm going to talk about that podcast particularly in my next video. I'm going to talk about that in my next video for sure. He said it himself. We wanted to make things easier for the smaller guy like Steph Curry, so he could dribble and he could use his skill. And that's why we basically put rules in place for the physical big guys to make it more difficult for them to defend. That's it. He said it. And it's easy to score now.
We talking talent. We better than you.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, no, you're not. Like, you wouldn't start on our team.
Yeah.
But the skill level, because you can shoot the ball from half court
Yeah.
and it goes in, doesn't make you an impactful player.
There is no center waiting for you below the basket. Many occasions, the defender basically cannot put his hands in front of you. So obviously, you're going to feel the flavor of dribbling and moving around and being all cool. Nice. But don't fool yourselves. It's easier. In any era, today, 80s, 90s, 70s, it's easier. And that's why you saw this rise in scoring. Nothing else. Not only the difficulty to be a better passer back then, because you're always kind of back to the basket. There is not much angle to see where everybody is. Now you're facing the basket and you have 3-point shooters all over the place. That's why it looks so easy, so good.
We would have covered you. We would have guarded you at the 3-point line.
Man,
Now, and the average player in our era wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Let me take that back. An average player in our era, because of the rule changes, could have been better because it's a scoring lead now. Where you come, there was no, Jack, was there a term called two-way player when we played?
No.
The game is easier today, and that's why you see that much scoring. The real reason American players are not as good as they used to be, and I'm going to repeat this, I'm talking exclusively about American players today. When we talk about the American players in basketball, they've always been the best players, and still today. They just won the Olympics, and it was a no-brainer. But today, it's getting closer and closer, and it's not because the foreigners. This is one of the biggest lies. Are getting so much better. Yes, you have 3 or 4 guys: Jokic, Luka, Giannis, Shea, foreign players who are, let's say, among the best 5 players in the world. There's no difference from what we saw in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. Dominique Wilkins was born in France. Patrick Ewing was born in Jamaica. Hakeem Olajuwon was born in Nigeria. And there was another one, I forgot. Tim Duncan was born in Virgin Islands. So they weren't American players, not at the beginning. And I'm mentioning 4 of the best. Basically, all these guys were top 5 caliber players in their eras. So what's your excuse now? American players got worse. And the reason that the media never mentioned it, because it's the media that want to hide this, the media wants to hide this, is these players, they don't go to college anymore. The college level is not as good anymore. College used to be preparing you to become a professional, as Kenny said. It was preparing you to know how to play zone, play against the zone, play different type of plays, Princeton offense, triangle offense, post up, all different type of games and plays. You were ready for it. Now it's not possible. So I'm gonna close with this. The only evolution there has been in basketball, and I know for American fans, it's gonna be a hard pill to swallow, and I'm gonna have a couple of shows about this, is that in the early 2000s, a team like Argentina, with way less talent, beat the USA with Tim Duncan and Allen Iverson in the team. And how did they beat them? They shot the 3 more. They kind of replaced the power forward for a 3-point shooter, which is what we do today. And they played penetration and kick it out more. And they did an abuse of the post-up. Isn't that what teams play today? Isn't that the way the Boston Celtics won the championship? Isn't that the way the Warriors have been winning these championships these last couple of years? This is what actually changed the game, is that European brought a system that was more efficient. You can win with less talent. That's the truth, because this channel is about the truth, and I hope you enjoyed it.